DermBiz episode 28. In this episode, we're going to talk about things to consider when hiring a mid-level provider. The top 5 things to consider if you're thinking about hiring a mid-level provider. DermBiz episode 28. Let's get started. The top 5 things to consider if you're thinking about hiring a mid-level provider. We're going to go through some of the common things that most people may overlook when they're factoring in if they should hire a PA, if they should hire a nurse practitioner. In this video, in less than 10 minutes, we're going to go over some of the key things that you must consider when hiring a mid-level provider. When we got started and we considered hiring a mid-level provider, our mentality was we're going to hire this person. It's going to alleviate all of this work for my wife, the doctor. It's going to maximize our profitability. It's going to be great. Everything is going to be wonderful. As we started to go through the process, we realized that there were some things that we weren't considering that we're going to share with you. And hopefully you consider this as you're starting to think about hiring a mid-level, or if you're just now hiring a mid-level. Number 1, realize that hiring a mid-level provider is a long-term investment. It is probably going to be the biggest investment that you make outside of your space if you're doing a build-out, or outside of the equipment that you're using if you're purchasing some expensive equipment. You have to factor in the salary cost of this individual, and you have to pay this person their salary whether they're earning that income back or not. So it's going to be a longer term investment. However long you think it's going to take to profit from the mid-level that you hire, extend that out a little bit more. It's kind of like when people talk about building a house, that it usually takes longer than you think and it costs more than you thought it was going to cost. Hiring a mid-level provider is going to be the same way. We believe we're for it. We think it's a great idea, but you want to be thinking longer term and consider it a long-term investment, especially if this is a mid-level that you're going to have to train in derm, and especially if this is a mid-level that you're going to have to help build up their schedule, meaning you're not going to just kind of copy and paste your schedule over to theirs. They're going to have to actually build up their schedule as well. And even if you are planning on copying and pasting your schedule over to theirs, recognize that there are going to be some patients who are just not going to want to see a mid-level. They're only going to want to see an MD. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Number 2, hiring a mid-level is going to require more management and more leadership for you as a doctor. You're going to have to sign off on all of their notes, and you're going to have to be more of a CMO, a chief medical officer. You're going to have to ensure that the best practices that you put in place are being followed by them. You're going to have to ensure that they are performing up to the standard of care that you've created for your clinic as the head doctor. So and so there's going to be some training opportunities. There's going to have to be some crucial conversations that you're going to be able to have that you're going to need to have with them. You're going to have to course correct them along the way, and you have to be willing to do that work. So they may be removing some of the treatment of patients work, but it's going to be adding more of a leadership and training and coaching work for you. Number 3, there is a high possibility when you're hiring a mid-level and you're training this mid-level, or maybe even if you don't train them, but you just hire them, they're already trained and they're seeing patients. There is a possibility that you could be training your future competition. There's lots of conversations going on right now about the strength of non-compete agreements. Will they hold up in court? Will they not hold up in court? Ultimately, even if they do hold up in court, it's not going to be a forever non-compete, right? So it may only be 1 year or 2 years. And after that time period, that provider can work wherever they so choose. And maybe they may find another MD that they can work under. Or maybe it's you're watching this in a state where mid-levels can operate on their own. Either way, that is a possibility that you may be training your competition. You have to be okay with that. You have to be okay knowing that the person that you train, the person that you work with, the person that you paid a nice 6-figure salary could one day be competing against you. Number 4, one thing you have to consider is that hiring mid-levels, and as a doctor or a private practice owner of a dermatology clinic, this is something you already know, but hiring mid-levels is frowned upon by many in the medical world. Many doctors frown upon the idea of of hiring mid-levels. And this video was not about us convincing somebody one way or another. Should they hire a mid-level? Should they not hire a mid-level? Are mid-levels good for the profession? Are they not good for the profession? I believe that they are good for the profession, but that's my own personal opinion. But here's one thing I will say. You have to be okay knowing that if you go down this route, there may be many of your colleagues, there may be many other people who are in the derm world who may look down on your decision to hire, train, and equip mid-level providers. And so that's another thing to think about. And number 5, recognize that, at least this is true in the state of Michigan, mid-level providers are reimbursed at a lower rate than MDs. And so this is something that you have to think about when you are quantifying the return on hiring a mid-level. How is insurance going to reimburse the work that this mid-level does? It's going to be at a lower rate. I believe from talking to our biller that insurance reimburses at an 80% rate. So every dollar that a doctor would have been reimbursed, a mid-level gets reimbursed 80%. And so 80 cents on the dollar. These are some key things to think about. You want to recognize that hiring a mid-level is not a set it and forget it type of thing. It's not an instant profitability type of thing. It's a long-term decision, and it's one that comes with some of the concerns that I've addressed in this video, and there are many other concerns. But one thing that you want to keep in mind is when you're making decisions for your private practice, you have to make sure that you're doing just that. Decisions that are specific to what you do individually. For some people, hiring a mid-level may not be a good decision for them. For some people, hiring a mid-level may be a great decision for them. You have to look through your own personal situation and recognize, how much do you value your own personal time? Are you willing to do non-medical work, more management style work, more leadership style work? Are you willing to deal with the potential that whomever you hire may one day become your competition, and that some of your patients that are connected to you personally right now may eventually get more connected and feel a deep connection with this mid-level provider. And so if that provider left, they may potentially follow that provider. These are all the things that you have to consider. There is no right or wrong, but it's very much based upon your own individual situation. Listen, I hope this video helps you out. If you have any more questions in regards to mid-level providers, hiring, training, all of that good stuff, feel free to reach out to us. If there's any more content that you want to hear or learn about in regards to hiring and training mid-level providers, definitely reach out to us and we'll be happy to make some additional follow-up videos.
What other specific topics related to the business of private practice management would you like for us to cover? Please share in the comments below or reach out to us on social media or our email address, DermBiz@gmail.com. Our mission is to create a movement of collaboration and support amongst physician-owned private practice owners. If you would like to join that movement, again, don't forget to like, share, comment, and please don't forget to subscribe.